everyone. Today is March 8th, 2023. This is our full council meeting at 6:30, special meeting to pass some legislation. If you would rise as you're able to help get us started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Ms. Brittenhoff, would you do roll call?
Ms. Cheney.
Here.
Mr. Fisher. Mr. Knipp.
Here.
Mr. Marks.
Present.
Ms. Snyder.
Here.
Mr. Van Hart.
Here. All right, great. I presume everyone recognizes what the agenda is this morning and has a chance this evening and has had a chance to take a look at it, knowing that we're here just to pass some emergency legislation.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. No one is registered to speak to council this evening. That's my understanding. Anyone have an objection to that? All right. Then we're not going to be approving minutes this evening. We'll be doing that at our next meeting. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Butler for solicitor's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first piece of legislation is ordinance number 2023-2. This is actually set for the second reading. We didn't have enough to pass it as an emergency the last time. It is approving current replacement pages to the Gulf Manor ordinances. Brief explanation. We, of course, pass our own legislation as a home rule village. By the same token, the state of Ohio controls much of our legislation in that anything that is what we call general law, which means it's intended to apply across the entire state, we really can't legislate in that area. So periodically, they send us the legislation to update our code, and that's what this is. So,
Motion to read by title only.
thank you.
All right, I have a quick question. Is this 2023-2?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I do not see that on our
It's not on the agenda.
agenda.
We did not include that one.
Okay, if it's not on the agenda, we'll do it next time. As a special meeting, we can only do those things that are on the that were on the notice and went out. So we'll do resolution number 2023-3, which regards the purchase of the Ford Police Interceptor. That is on the agenda, is it not?
Correct.
Okay. Again, as a resolution, we just need a majority vote, but I do need a motion to read by title only.
Motion to read by title only.
Second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-3, a resolution authorizing the lease purchase of a 2023 Ford Police Interceptor and the accessory equipment therefore.
We have a brief summary from administration.
So the police department has approached the administration regarding vehicle integrity. We've had a lot of discussions about that. Mr. Pridloff has actually worked with Sergeant Reed and Chief Campbell on a vehicle evaluation program, which is a numerical program which will give us a better sense of where we are in the lifespan of the vehicles. What we've been able to early determine is that we're having problems with two vehicles, and specifically, one is one of the Dodge Durangos, number 218. It's been spending a lot of time in the shop. The other is the Avenger that we purchased last year for Sergeant Reed to use as his undercover car. Unfortunately, the Avenger is costing us about as much to fix as it did to buy it, and we need a fairly quick solution to get rid of it. The police department has proposed to us that they will reduce by a vehicle. So we would be getting rid of the Avenger and then turning that 218 Durango into an unmarked police car that would be used for Sergeant Reed to use, and then it would also suffice in the rotation of the police vehicles. This is for a 2022, I believe, 2023.
23.
Ford Police Interceptor, which is a hybrid vehicle. So this will be our first foray into a hybrid police car. And what we're doing at this point is looking to quell the expenses of the two vehicles. The Durangos are both out of warranty at this point, And at this point, anything that happens with those vehicles, we're paying for out of pocket now, if that's correct. So the further plan would be we would retire the other Durango next year and then purchase a similar Interceptor in 2024. The good news is we are down a car loan. We paid off the chief's car this year. So this will keep our debt ratio where it was without increasing debt to the village.
Anything to
I
add,
should say
Sergeant
debt
Reed?
ratio.
I don't think so. Unless you need to.
Any questions?
Yes. Why don't we just retire both and buy 2 new vehicles? If it's not a warranty, it's gonna cost us money in the shop with an unknown number. Why don't we retire it right now?
Did you?
That was originally proposed and budgeted, but that was decided against.
Why?
That's a conversation for another day.
So let's have it.
He wanted to know why we just don't get rid of both Durangos.
And
Well, a lot of it is cost at this point. The second Durango is not costing us the repairs that the 218 is. So what I would like to do is get into a rotation where we add a new vehicle every year, get rid of a vehicle every year. So essentially, you are rotating your cars every 4 years if you can get into that type of rotation. We've tried to do that. Unfortunately, the car accident from a couple of years ago kind of took us out of that ability to keep more. I would like to see us not have more than 1 car loan at a time, essentially. So.
I know when I was first briefed on the need for this emergency meeting, it had to do with, I believe, our next item of legislation, which is the aggregation one. If we're, I don't think that this is an emergency, correct me if I'm wrong, that this one doesn't, if council wants to discuss this more, I believe that we can afford to do that. It's the other pieces of legislation that we really need to get passed tonight. I'm just saying that if there is further questioning.
Would you like me to prepare something on that other vehicle? Meaning the first vehicle, I don't think really there was a question in terms of cost. I can talk a little bit more about the vehicle replacement policy that we came up with. Maybe at the next meeting, I can give a little bit more of an explanation of that, just so that we can move on now.
What we need is for this vehicle to be approved tonight, because this vehicle is, if we don't, we'll lose this, because we didn't order a vehicle. This is being specially held. If you want to have further discussion about a second vehicle that doesn't even exist, that may not even be out there until 24, that could probably be tabled for another meeting. But this vehicle is being held, and if we don't approve it tonight, it'll be sold to one jurisdiction. So
Yeah, and just note, it's also being purchased through the Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program, which allows us to purchase equipment like this at a lesser expense.
So we are approved. So tonight, I thought tonight this was an emergency pass.
This is, well,
Semi-emergency.
Yeah, this is urgency. Yeah, this
Right.
is time sensitive. Another vehicle is another discussion for another meeting, that's fine. But
Okay.
I think
this
this,
particular one is,
All right. So do we have a motion to read by title only?
Any objection to this?
We did have a motion to read by title only. We had a second by Mr. Van Horn.
Okay.
And
And I
we're
read-
waiting for a motion to adopt the
Yeah.
resolution.
I read it, and now you just need to move to adopt.
Yeah, so the question is there any more discussion? No? All right. So roll call vote?
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
I'm sorry, there was a motion to adopt, or we don't need a motion to adopt?
We
Yes.
didn't do that, did
We
we?
already had that.
We
We had a
read by
motion and a
title.
second. Read by title only.
Yeah,
Title,
we needed a
yeah.
motion to
Okay, sorry.
adopt.
I'll make a
Motion
motion
to
to
adopt.
adopt.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I thought.
And a second from who?
So much motion going on.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Knipp,
Yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Ron is the, or your mayor is the contract for the Inglewood project. Is that on the agenda?
I'm sorry.
For the
What's the number?
2023-4,
Yes.
it is? Okay. So the
So
next,
let me ask a question. So we're adopting this, we're not having 3 readings, so we need to also make a
No.
motion to pass an emergency, or we just good?
No,
It's just a
resolution.
resolution.
They require one reading.
Okay.
Okay, so next is resolution 2023-4, resolution authorizing or entering into a contract with Rack and Collier Excavating for the Inglewood Avenue and Canterbury Avenue project. This was bid out, and the administration and our engineer found that the bid from Rack and I'm not sure, I'm not even trying to pronounce it. Bauer?
Bauer.
Yeah, okay. Out of all of those, probably one might be right. That was the best and lowest bid and recommended to be adopted.
Is there a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so that's Van Horn and Marks. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-4, resolution entering into a contract with Rack and Collier, Excavating Company, Inc.
You're close.
for the Inglewood Avenue and Canterbury Avenue Improvements Project.
Okay, discussion, maybe a brief summary by administration.
So the bids for the Inglewood Canterbury project ranged from $673,787 to the lowest bid from Rack and Bauer for $568,186.50. That actually came in a little bit around 10% under what we had anticipated the actual bid would be. This is also being funded by a state grant. So half of this is being paid for by the state of Ohio through PWC. I'm sorry, I forgot my acronym.
OPWC.
OPWC, thank you. And then the other half is will be done by a 20-year loan, interest-free, that the village will pay out of our road fund. The good thing, and as a resident, I'm thrilled about this, it's the same company that's doing the water work. So they're going to be able to move right into doing the street work as they finish the water work that's happening. So I think this turned out to be a good deal for us.
In addition to the contract amount, we've figured in another 5% for change orders and things like that. So Mr. Hurth doesn't have to return to council for what will inevitably, it seems to be inevitably the change orders.
If needed, basically.
Yeah, it's if needed, but just so we don't have to come back for legislation every time.
Any questions, any discussion? All right, is there a motion to
I'll make a
adopt?
motion.
Cheney, is there a second? I'll second. Van Horn. Roll call.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Knipp,
Yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
And then the last piece of legislation, 2023-5, approves the electric energy aggregate supplier agreement with Energy Harbor LLC. And this is probably the most time-sensitive document or piece of legislation we have for this evening.
Is there a motion to read by title only?
Motion to read by title only. Second.
Brooks, Knapp, all those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-5, a resolution approving an electric energy aggregation supplier agreement with Energy Harbor LLC.
You know, many of us have already been briefed on this. Can we have a brief summary from administration?
So I don't know if anyone remembers this, but during the summertime when our electric aggregation ended, and I believe that was at the end of June of 2022, rates were fluctuating up and down almost on a daily basis, and there was no way of locking in a reasonable price for electric kilowatts. In the last 2 weeks, Energy Alliances is the broker that council chose back in 2014 to do this program for us, have worked with 18 other local communities, and they've been able to secure ranges of rates from 6.4 cents to 6.9 cents, depending on what day you lock it in. It's moving around again. The rep told me today that they are trying to avoid it going up to 7. This was the slide from last Monday. So what they're saying to us is that our rate, our residents, in our system, and this would be new for Mr. Michelson, if you're familiar with our program, it's an opt-in program. So if you as a resident are just getting energy from Duke Energy today, you're paying probably around 9.5 cents per kilowatt for your energy. In our program, it's an opt-out program, so this entire number, whatever the number that turns out to be when we lock this in, everybody gets that number and it automatically changes. If you as a resident decide you don't want that number, you'd rather pay whatever Duke Energy is providing, or if you have entered into contract with another supplier that has a different rate, that signed contract trumps what the village is doing. So this is simply for the opt-out program that the Village of Gulf Manor offers to our residents. So they're anticipating that the rates for the summer and for a 2-year period with Duke is going to be around 9.5 cents per kilowatt hour. They believe they can get us in under 7 cents. If you wish to have renewable energy that comes from a renewable source, it will tag on an additional 0.5 cent to your kilowatt rate. And you can either choose to accept that. You have to call them and say, yes, I want the renewable, or you can just take the regular old energy. Currently, we are in a renewable plan. There was not an additional cost for the renewable prior to all of this energy stuff going crazy. We decided it was better to let people make that option if they want to go renewable because it was such a difference in cost. Getting this in place in that upper 6 range is going to save each resident around $20 a month compared to the Duke Energy rate. So, and that is one of the reasons that we needed to do this evening, because the rates are starting to get ready to go high again at the end of this week. So
That 20 is based upon the regular energy, and then the green energy is also lower than what.
it'll be
We're
lower than
currently paying.
Duke, correct? But it's
But it will be
probably,
higher
you'll
than
save
that.
less than $20 if you go to the renewable option. And that's just an average for the normal user out there.
Any questions? Do we
Yeah,
have?
so I'm currently with Duke Energy, because everybody knows that now. So when this kicks in, do I have to call and opt into this then?
You don't have to do anything, it'll just switch
Okay.
for whenever the date becomes effective. If you decide you want the renewable energy and you want to pay 0.5% more, you have to call them and say, I'd like to pay more,
Okay.
essentially.
And then how are we going to inform the residents?
Residents will get a letter in the mail,
Okay.
basically welcoming them back to the aggregation program and offering you the ability to opt out if you wish to. So this is it is somewhat imposed on everybody because it is a blanket administration, but you have the ability to say, I don't want this. Or if you've already signed a contract with another company, you have to honor that contract. So in some cases, this happened to us when we first went on aggregation, whenever this was. We had a contract with another company and couldn't figure out why our rates were never going down. It's because we needed to end the contract with the other company and then get into the aggregation program here.
The letter that goes out, will that mention the green option that's available?
I'm sorry, say it again?
The letter that goes out to everyone, will that mention the green option?
Correct.
As well, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
That's Van Horn and Marks, and roll call, please.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Knipp,
Yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thank you, everyone. I think when we were planning this, we said it would take about this long. Is there any other business? If not, I'll remind everyone that our next meeting is Monday. Executive committee will meet at 6 p.m. Council immediately following, or at 7 p.m. We have a guest speaker, the dentist, Dr. Bronson, and The next meeting after that will be March 27th, where we'll have our Financial Audit Committee meeting at 5:30, Finance Committee meeting at 6 p.m., and council immediately following that are at 7 p.m. With that, thank you for your service, everyone. And
Motion to
have a
adjourn.
great evening.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.